The call is coming from inside the house.
Coming from your TV set.
Yeah.
All right, well, I don't know how to start with this.
Start like you start anything else.
Okay, well,
There's nothing weird happening here.
this is going to be your new favorite Halloween movie, without a doubt.
That's a big claim.
That is a big claim.
And I can easily make this claim because I know for a fact it's going to be true.
Let's see what
So
you
the
got.
audience knows what it is, and this is going to be your first time seeing what it is. And tonight's second movie is...
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
I've seen Dead Alive.
Your mother ate my dog!
Do you want to read the short description?
I will absolutely. Wellington, New Zealand. Lionel Casgrove, an oppressed bachelor still living with his despotic mother, Vera, has finally found his soulmate, Paquita, a compassionate grocery store clerk. But fate plays cruel tricks on mortals after a visit to the local zoo. A vicious Sumatran rat monkey bites Vera, and Lionel's already messed up world falls apart.
Have either of you seen this?
Man, buckets, literal buckets
I
of
don't think I've
blood.
ever seen this.
So you know my claim of this being one of the greatest Halloween
You
movies.
said this is
true.
your favorite
One of the greatest.
all time.
This is.
That's my mother you're pissing on.
Do you know who the director is?
No.
The director is Peter Jackson.
Oh my god.
This was, well, we'll discuss it later.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see how he went from this to the Lord of the Rings.
So you found your dad's old stag movies, eh?
Because some of the special effects choices in the Lord of the Rings.
But to go from New
Sorry,
Zealand, New Zealand gore movie to
to
Lord of the Rings.
one of the most epic trilogies ever made.
fantasy gore movie.
Yeah. All right.
It's fantasy.
All right, so you ready to watch the greatest Halloween movie of all time?
Oh.
Let's do it. Wait. Cough. Okay, good.
With that, then we're good to go. All right. Let's go.
Nice horn.
Thank you.
So the second movie
The second movie
The
of the
second-
night.
The second movie's
the
right
second-
here.
the second
The second
movie.
movie's right here.
It's not.
It's genuinely
Oh, here.
right there.
Yep. It's not digital. It's actually the
Actually
physical movie.
there. This is not.
Oh no!
Notice my hand doesn't pass through it. It's totally touching it.
Stop! You just knocked it over. Now put it back.
Shit, sorry.
All right. So the second movie we watched today is called Dead Alive,
Dead alive.
or depending on what country you're from, Braindead.
There will be one romance.
You know, the natives use them in black magic rituals.
Devil is amongst us. Party's over.
I had
kinda like
seen
that
this
better.
movie before. If you want to see literally cups and buckets full of tomato soup thrown in someone's face, then this is the movie for you.
See, and here's the yeah. You guys want to do
Here's
the
the
play-by-play, but I actually thought that movie moved a little slower,
Then
Oh, I
this
did
one.
too.
slower than this
Except
one.
the editing pace. The editing pace of this movie is almost like I would guess the person who edited this was a TV editor.
It looks
because
like
the
a
TV editing,
ball.
you have like a cut every 3 seconds. This movie had a cut every 3 seconds. It was
Yeah.
like boom, 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 close up, boom, 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 close up, boom, 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 close up. It was very
Oh, and
chaotic
those
editing.
close-ups were
There were a lot of close-ups.
Word.
You live here always?
Yeah.
You like my dog? It's very big, yes?
So this was Peter Jackson's. I want to. It may be his third, but I think his second movie. His first one was Bad Taste. Bad Taste took like 3 years for him to make, and then he did this. And I'm pretty sure Weta was involved in this, which is the visual effects company. Okay, we're gonna dive into a little deep dive in this because I always like this.
In 30 minutes.
If it wasn't for Freddy Krueger, we wouldn't have had Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
Huh?
And correct. So yeah, everyone always gets what? What happened was this movie was seen by the owner of New Line Cinema. New Line Cinema loved Bad Taste and Dead Alive. And he's like, all right, I want this guy to make the next Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So he called Peter Jackson, who did, said, I want you to make the next Nightmare on Elm Street movie. He came to America because he's from New Zealand, and he said, I will, but I first want to do one of my movies first. And he's like, all right, what do you want to do first? He's like, I want to do Lord of the Rings first. So he agreed to do a Nightmare on Elm Street movie if he got to do Lord of the Rings movies first. So New Line Cinema, is called the house that Freddy built because their first franchise was Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, and that basically built their entire studio. So New Line Cinema is the one who backed him, brought him over for it, and New Line Cinema was part of the production company that made Lord of the Rings. So if it wasn't for Freddy Krueger to bring him in to do this, he never would have been able to make the Lord of the Rings movies.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I love
That's very
that.
interesting.
I want to do the play-by-play.
You could start.
Okay, we gotta not cut her off so that she can just get through it.
Can I just point out one thing? Because of the visual effects, I want to show a few. The miniatures in this movie, I fucking love. I love miniatures. I've always been a huge fan of miniatures in movies. The new Beetlejuice movie has some good miniatures in it, and it's worth seeing just for that. But the miniatures in this movie are not only good, but Peter Jackson being smart of how he hid the transition from miniatures to real people. I'm going to show a few are just really cool. Even the little switcheroos he did from the
Streetcars
of the baby, from being the robotic baby to an actual person, person running, were just genius the way he does it. He's really good at hiding real effects and
hiding.
Yeah. And then, before we get started but also I just want to point out between this one and Lord of the Rings, he did The Frighteners, which is a horribly underrated movie.
Oh, Frighteners is great.
Fucking amazing.
Frighteners
Michael J.
is an
Fox
amazing movie.
is amazing in that movie. Go on YouTube and look at the Frighteners outtakes. There's a bunch of them where Michael J. Fox would go, Doc! He kept yelling Doc Brown because he was so used to in Back to the Future yelling Doc.
Doc! Doc, I did it again.
You could start with well, you missed the very start of the movie.
I did technically miss the very, very, very start.
Why?
So if somebody
of the first or
wants
second movie.
Why'd you miss it?
Because I lost my keys.
And that caused what?
Me to be late. Because I walked around for 40 minutes looking through all the same places over and over and over again until I eventually remembered that I have a spare set.
Oh, so you never found them.
And I used those.
Oh,
no,
shit.
I still don't know where they are.
Are they in your pocket?
I don't have pockets.
Are they in your square skirt?
My square skirt?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over the summary.
So, because I missed the first little bit, all I really know is that there was a girl and she got a tarot reading from her grandma and it said all this stuff about finding love in a man.
Okay, then I'll do at the very beginning what you missed, then you take over.
Okay.
Because the very beginning is they are on Skull Island, which is a fun little thing because what did he do?
Yeah, he made King Kong on Skull Island.
So they're on Skull Island and they find the rat monkey.
The rat monkey.
Oh, so it showed that.
It showed them
I'm just sitting here like, why is that in a zoo?
Yeah, they caught the rat monkey.
Yeah.
And they're being chased by the local tribes trying to be killed for stealing the rat monkey.
Yeah, the local tribe like, you got to put the rat monkey back.
Yeah.
And they don't know that the local tribe is trying to like...
Hermit, looky see, hermit.
Spare the... And then he pulls out a fucking grease gun and he's like... Scares them all away.
It's a very valuable monkey.
Cuts the box of monkey off of like the pallet rods because the other dude that he hired to help him won't help him and he just start carrying the box out of there. And they're running away. He jumps up in the back of this Jeep and his assistant is running after him to get there. And then it's so comical and hard to like you immediately have clocked this movie as like an episode of Benny Hill level of seriousness. And they're throwing spears and stuff, and the assistant hasn't gotten to the Jeep. He's like, floor it! But somehow these natives and the assistant on foot catch up to this Jeep multiple times until finally they get in. and or the assistant gets in, and then the rat monkey bites the guy.
Right, because he slams on the brake, and the crate falls on him, and it falls on him. He's like, the little bugger bit me. And when they bit him, two of the local guys who was helping him points and says,
The little bugger bit me. Zingaya. Zingaya.
Zingaya. I always remember Zingaya.
Okay, by
You've
the way,
got the bite.
That's an actress that was in the Spider-Man movies.
Zendaya?
Yeah, I know. It's just so similar.
Zingaya.
They better not have had Zendaya in a box.
So he had the bite on his hand.
Yeah.
So
and
they chop his hand off.
Yeah, they throw him onto the ground and cut his hand off.
But then they point at a bloody wound on his shoulder and say, Zingaya!
Zingaya.
And cut his arm off, and while he's screaming because they cut his arm off,
see a scratch on his
scratch-
head.
Oh, yeah, it was on his head. They see a scratch on his head, and then you just see him lift it. Yeah, they lift the knife and swing down, and then animated blood splats on the screen, and it falls into the logo of the movie.
Dead alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this movie follows. I don't know if the main there is no one main character, because it doesn't so much start with the guy as it does start with the girl that has an enormous chin.
Paquita.
Jay Leno's
Yeah.
estranged grandniece.
Well, so they bring the creature, the monkey, the rat monkey, to the zoo so people can enjoy
Well, so
it.
they bring it to an airport and hand it over for big American dollars,
Right.
and then it eventually ends up at the zoo.
At the
we
zoo.
assume.
Right. Well, you see it at the zoo.
We see the zooms later, but while we're at now, we're at where you pick up.
Did you see? You saw the zoo
I
scene?
actually didn't see the card reading either.
Oh, and
you
the
didn't see the
all of a
card
sudden
reading.
I saw the mom
the other
falling
thing,
into the
the other
cage.
thing that you missed is the young woman working in a store, and
That
this
part.
guy shows up, and I think he's like a doctor or something, and he's driving around in a little car, or he's the milkman. I don't know if he's a milkman or a doctor, but he garnered great respect
He's a
from
milk
this family.
doctor.
Milk doctor. So the milk doctor shows up, and he comes in there, and she is just enamored with this guy, and she's trying to get him to notice her. She like takes off her like kind of jackety, smocky, aprony thing
Yeah,
that
and then
she's
her
wearing
shirt
at work,
falls down.
and her shirt falls down, and he lifts it up, and she's like, and then he kind of like walks off like he's just completely oblivious to it or not interested.
Or uncomfortable, yeah.
Like, so you're like, is this guy not into women, or is this guy just not into her? And she's like all sad, and then she has her like old Nina do
A reading.
a card reading.
A tarot reading.
And in the tarot reading, she puts down a card. She's like, this is you. And it's a beautiful woman on the thing. She puts down a card that's like a knight in armor. And she's like, oh, it's the milk doctor. And then she's like, no, it's not. It's not the milk doctor. This is somebody else. But there's clearly an actor's face painted onto this card.
Right. To really
look
sell
just
it.
like the guy.
I just like her reaction. No, this is not him.
It's like,
What do you mean it's
no,
not
this
him?
is not him.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh. And then
Some
she's
other
like,
guy.
and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be love and death and conflict and trauma.
It's very comically I mean, the whole movie's comically acted.
Yeah.
Like you made a comment before, like how bad the acting is. The acting's purposely like it's over the top. I mean, you get everything in this movie is over the top. So it's meant to be like their acting is just like her face, like
Right.
Let's smoke him out.
Oh no. Bam.
fuck he went. He disappeared again.
Shit.
Where did Antonio go?
I have no idea how I'm going to edit that with 3 stationary cameras.
He went into the void.
Went into the void.
All right, well,
So I'm gonna blast through this because we don't
Yep.
have the world's
On your mark, get
abundance
set.
of time.
Go.
So basically, she becomes totally enamored with this magical man on the cards that she's never met, right? And then she gets all creepy stalkery, and then we kind of get
'cause
introduced.
he comes into the shop.
Yeah, and then we get kind of introduced into him, and I'm just like, whoa, coming on a little strong there, lady. And then she kind of starts like stalking him around and stuff, and trying to like be buddy with him, and he's like weird, and he's got mommy issues, and then we see a bunch of the mommy issues because she's like super controlling and super belittling, and like the only woman that you will ever love is me. And I'm like, that's creepy.
I thought I told you to spray this house. The place is infested with vermin.
I'll get onto it straight away, Mum.
look at all this dust.
Yeah, she's like, you didn't dust it right. Your father would have
The
done
dust is an
better.
inch
It's
thick
an inch,
here.
and she's walking around with a butcher knife, which I think is great. She's like
And she's
scraping
pointing
the
at him.
dust, and she's just like, and he's like, I'm sorry, I love you, I'm sorry, I love you, I'll fix
no,
it, I
it's
love
not
you.
hot.
And I'm like, that's unhealthy.
Does that look like a well-manicured lawn to you? Because I just mowed the grass
that's all he does,
yesterday.
yeah. And then the lawnmower goes right over the camera, and you guys all looked at each other. We went foreshadowing.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and I'm over here like, Because I hadn't seen the monkey, I hadn't seen the card read, and there's just this really
And you're like, why is this
pushy
lawnmower
girl.
foreshadowing? But now you know why.
Now I know why. Yup. And so I don't remember the exact details, but she ends up convincing him to
black out
go.
that whole side of the screen as Antonio comes back. Was he still
Wow.
talking? Whoa, he's back.
Oh my gosh!
All screens are totally white.
You came back just in the nick of time for my explanation.
Nice.
Woo! Fireworks. But yeah, so she ends up convincing him to go on a date with her to the zoo, and then they go to the zoo, and then they're looking around.
She doesn't convince him, she tricks him.
I used convince
And then
because
guilt
I
trips
was
him.
trying-
She tricks him.
And every time he's not looking, she's like
talking
checking
about
out
the zoo
his
and talking about the zoo
butt,
and
and then
talking
he
about the zoo
looks
and
at her and she's like,
Are you talking about the zoo? And
She's
she's
like-
like, oh, you want to go with me? I was like, no.
I go with the zoo.
Oh, no. You want to go to the zoo?
Yes, please.
Like, I think
not
you
what
mean
I
to say
said.
to go to the zoo. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll go to the zoo with you. Like,
Yeah, I don't like her, but that's okay. So then they go to
Was
the
it her
zoo
chin?
and they're like doing a whatever,
clay
and then
chin?
she
Don't like women, do
throws.
they?
yeah, no.
She's what?
Nothing.
All right, I'll see it in post.
Clay
Women
chin?
just don't like women, do they?
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
And then she throws a rock at the monkeys.
no,
You
the
don't
monkeys
watch
threw an apple
Apple.
at her, and then she picked the apple up and threw it back at the monkeys.
I'm pretty sure it was a rock.
It was an
Pretty
apple.
sure
It was an apple core.
And you don't watch this show.
It looked like a rock.
It was an apple core.
It was an apple core.
Well, fine.
It was a
My
Granny Smith
prescription
green
is new,
apple
and
core.
I'm not
Yeah,
used to
green
it yet.
apple core.
Pardon me. Anyway, I don't know how his mom got there, but then she was there, and then she slipped
following,
on the apple
stalking.
core, and then fell into the rat monkey cage like this, and then the rat monkey was like, ah, and she was like, ah, and then he's like, oh, that's the scream of my mother, which I know somehow. And then basically the whole movie was
Well, and she
her
stepped,
then the mom
basically-
just
she stepped on the
destroys.
rat monkey's head.
She destroys
Oh,
the
yeah,
rat
out
monkey.
And
of-
like
out of-
squished its head and killed this rat
Was
monkey.
that clay? How did
It
they
was stop
do
motion.
that?
The whole
was
thing.
real.
This rat monkey was stop motion,
Yeah.
and then
And then her stomping
was
it
this-
and its eyes
was
popping
latex,
out and
yeah.
all the
It was
fluid
like
just
Clash
like
of the Titans.
Yeah,
The rat
It was
monkey was
very
real.
aggressive.
It was
yeah.
real.
So it was a real rat
It
monkey.
was a real rat monkey.
I mean, I knew that.
Yeah.
I
From
studied
Skull
that
Island.
in
From
college.
Skull
You
Island.
know.
So the mom gets sick. She started from the rat monkey bite. She starts to get sick, and she had.
And he stops dating the girl so he can take care of his mom, and she's
Right.
real upset about that.
Yep. That did happen.
Yeah.
And then who were those fancy people
I
that
was
came
saying,
to visit?
she
She started
had-
like rotting,
Yeah.
and the son was obviously very concerned when he unwrapped her arm, and there was like literally a damn near heart in it, just like pulsing creepy and spit and pus and
Right.
stuff. And then she went to go
nurse.
do her makeup because some people were
Yes.
there of significance, of prestige.
She used a
And
sponge.
she went to use a sponge, and it just ripped her entire cheek flesh right off. And then the son was like, "Well, we could fix it with glue."
They
And he
super
did.
glued her
And I
face,
was like,
yeah.
that's really gross. But, and then she put on all her makeup and she was like falling apart at dinner, like literally and like physically, like her ear fell into her soup and she spit pus into that guy's porridge and the ladies
No,
obviously
she didn't spit
like,
it out of her mouth. Her arm
She
shot
went
it
like this
into the
and
soup.
shot
Like
it.
she did this. She pulled it up and it went into the soup. Like she did it on
he just
purpose.
kept
Did he
eating
get
it.
infected when that happened?
Yeah.
Or did they just
I
do
don't
it
think
for
he
clout?
got
They
infected.
just
Or it was
ignored
just
yeah.
gross.
It was just
Yeah,
gross.
okay.
It just started as a gross out because
Because
you
it
see
wasn't
and
soup,
he-
it was custard.
Fine custard.
I
He
said
hadn't had
that.
custard in a
But
long
then
time.
I said
Okay.
soup.
And then so it's all mixed, and you just see him eating it. And while he's doing that, I guess it's his wife sees all of it, and she just starts getting sick because she sees him eating that.
Yeah,
She
she's
sees the
gotta
ear
go.
fall
Her
off.
eating
pudding.
her own ear
Yeah,
now
that's
in
right,
the
pudding, no
spoon.
pudding.
Well, that is a kind of British and Australian and New Zealand way of saying dessert.
Right.
No pudding?
Right,
But
because he
it's
said no
like
pudding, but
pudding,
he
yeah.
said he had what no pudding, and he brought out and he's
Because
like,
the
"Ooh,
wife was
custard."
ready to leave.
Yeah, and he's
And
like,
he's
"Ooh,
like, "No
custard! I've
pudding.
had
Oh,
custard
custard.
since I was a yeah,
in a long time.
yeah."
Yeah. And then she eats her own ear.
And spits out the
Earring.
earring, which unfortunately the one thing this time is gonna be rough to edit because I can't show any of this on YouTube.
You could show him eating the custard.
Yeah,
You can
but
show the rat monkey with the core.
yeah, I mean I can show the stop motion, but I just mean like all the fun part of what this movie's made for.
Fun.
Well, that's why you should go
Fun.
watch it yourself.
Well, yeah, you tell me this movie was not a like
The last 40 minutes is awesome. It's a little long.
the goofiness that starts fun. You gotta.
Oh my
You
gosh.
can't climax that early. It's foreplay like we were talking about in the last movie.
Right.
You gotta bite the nipple a little bit before, or
Right.
kiss the belly button a little bit.
So mom
Before you bleed
is
the
getting
neck.
sick, and eventually mom dies, and he's got a dirtbag cousin that comes into town that's looking to steal the estate.
I think before that, the nurse, when she dies, the nurse comes in. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Because Bakita,
and then-
dies. They're both there when Bakita shows up with the nurse to take care of the mom, and then the mom dies, and then the nurse has the best bedside manner.
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
Yeah.
And she says, but she always loved you, and blah, blah, blah. And then mom grabs her face like a zombie and digs her fingers into her cheeks and then rips her head backwards, and then it just like dangles like this for the
Yeah,
rest
it's like
of the
torn.
movie.
Like there's a hinge on the back of her neck holding her head
Which
on.
is fun because they do the visual from
Exactly.
her perspective.
Upside
And then
down.
they
Yep.
snapped across
Right.
her head, and now she's a head floppy unicorn lady, for the rest of the movie.
The weird thing was the
Oh,
tranquilizer, because he kept tranquilizing the mother and the nurse.
Well,
And then
yeah,
the nurse, and then-
And the mother and then the mother and the
But
mother.
mom dies, and there's gonna be a funeral, and then he's got this sleazebag cousin that comes in, and we know that this guy is gonna be a crux. Mm-hmm. He's gonna come back and he's gonna bite us in the butt.
In the butt.
In the buttocks.
Yeah.
And then
But-
when does the priest get infected?
So well, they go to the funeral. 'cause this
funeral's
is-
the best, yeah.
They're at the before they go to the funeral, they go to the funeral home and they're embalming the mother, and they over embalm her, and they're just shooting out.
Puffy, you could show that.
Maybe
It's like
because
Willy
it's
Wonka.
under-
It's
green,
like the
yeah, it's
Wonka
green,
Vader.
it's green.
It's
And
like
then
Willy Wonka with
the one guy's sandwiches on her, and it's
And
all
he
he
eats
takes
the
it and starts eating the
sandwich.
sandwich, and then
And the one guy is Peter Jackson.
yes, yeah, it's Peter Jackson. Yep.
No shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I love
Yep.
cameos.
Yeah, and sorry,
And
if
he
you
got
ever
the
watch
roast cameo where he's eating the embalming fluid sandwich.
Yep.
It's like on this bloated body that's like spitting its contents onto the sandwich.
And if you ever watch Bad Taste, which is Peter Jackson's first movie, it's funny because he has like 4 cameos in it because he couldn't find actors to do it, so he did it himself. He plays 4 different characters.
Hey, don't ask anyone else to do something you're not willing to do yourself.
There's also a fight scene where he fights himself. he shoots a fight scene with
He's
both
just
sides.
like, no one else can do this to my
exactly.
expectations. So.
But yes. So then they're at the funeral, and he's using tranquilizer in the syringe. He's shoving up his mom's nose and in the nurse's
It's like
eye.
the tranquilizer you get from a cowboy town in that old
remember the
big
movie-
brown
Yeah.
jar. It says tranquilizer.
Remember, the movie takes place in 1956. Because
Did not know that.
on his mother's tombstone, and she died in
1956
or
in
57,
New
one of the two.
Zealand.
Yes.
So maybe
Yeah.
more cowboy towny. Okay.
More cowboy.
That explains all the beatniks.
The old cars too.
Yeah.
Oh, the old fire trucks.
Yeah, the old fire trucks at the end.
Fire Brigade.
Correct. But yeah, while he's gonna try to tranquilize his mom, she busts out of the coffin in the back in the back room of the funeral.
Shit, she's choking him, fights him through this room while the priest is delivering his eulogy that is really condemning the son for not enjoying his mother love.
Mother love.
This is the creepiest thing he said, mother love.
Greatest
God, I
love
hope you
of
put
all
that in a
time
bunch.
is
Mother love.
Though deprived of his father at an early age, was blessed with an abundance of mother love.
Can you say mother love a few more times?
No, they did it in unison. It was
I got mother love in stereo going right here.
And then he comes busting through that stained glass window with his mom's corpse on top of him, tranquilized.
As she's coming, he
And so
tranquilizes her, and
everybody's
they fall
just
back. Yeah.
judging him.
Yep.
Right.
it's creepy. It's weird and creepy.
Yep. So then the next big scene is when he's basically, after they bury her, he's gonna try to dig her up so he can get her back and figure out what to do.
Oh, and that's when he gets jumped by the gang.
By the greasers.
Hanging out
yep.
in the graveyard, and they call
They're
him like a
this
pervert.
is our graveyard.
What are you doing with us then?
Digging up a few stiffs.
And then
You're
he
a
decides,
pervert. I'm going to go pee on your mom's
and he
grave
goes,
now.
"That's my mother's grave."
That's my mother's grave you're pissing on.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
Sorry,
she grabs
can you
him.
say
and-
that I'm sorry, can you say that in your Australian accent, or your New Zealand accent?
That's my mother's grave you're pissing on.
That's good.
That's why I said it, yeah.
Wow.
That's my mother you're pissing on.
And while he's pissing on it, go ahead, yeah.
she busts out of the thingy and grabs onto him and pulls him down and down and down and
And we
down and
think
down
she's
and down.
gonna
And
bite
you think
his
she's
nut-
gonna,
his-
you think
yeah.
she's gonna bite the pee-pee off, but then she doesn't. And
You just see
instead
this-
she rips his chest and it flails and blood all over the place. And then he flies off somehow, and his whole chest
And
has
then-
no skin. It's just rib. And then he goes crazy and bites another guy, and he goes crazy, bites another guy.
No, and
then
Mom
there's
jumps
a
out
bunch
and
of
is
zombies.
attacking the greasers. Mom jumps out of the
I thought
grave.
they started attacking each other too.
No, Mom's attacking all the greasers, fighting all the greasers, and the greasers are on the ground dying. And then
Oh,
all the
yeah,
greasers
and then
get
they
up
come
and
and
come
then
after
the
him.
priest comes
And the
in.
priest shows up. It's time for some divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
I see.
This calls for divine intervention.
The devil is amongst us. Stand back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. And then he does that. He jumps down, pulls some Bruce Lee fights out, and then does this superhero stance. After he punches him, he steps back, does that.
I kick ass for the Lord.
It's such a superhero stance.
It's so
like,
And it's like a 5
bad.
or 7 minute fight scene where
It's a real kung fu fight
he
scene.
rips the
fighting
guy's
everybody.
arm off, beats the other guy with it, then rips his other arm off, beats him with it, and then kicks his legs out from under him. So
Kicking
now the
his legs
greaser,
off.
So it's just his torso
he's
is
just
there.
a torso.
Yeah, but it's just a flesh
And then he
wound.
kicks his head.
an
So
ass
he loses both arms,
Call it a
loses both
draw.
legs, and kicks his head clean off. And his head goes flying up in the air and lands on the priest and,
and bites him, and that's when the priest gets infected, and
Chomp,
why he
chomp.
has to add him to his little family
Wait,
of
wait,
the
but-
nurse,
but
mom, and the priest.
But remember, the priest dies
baby.
because when he gets
Not
bit,
yet.
he goes to kick. He goes to fly kick the last greaser, and when he goes to fly kick him, he pushes him off, and he lands on the,
spike.
Oh, yeah,
on the finger.
on the finger of
Yeah, and he dies.
This could be our thumbnail.
There
just-
you go.
But yeah,
Except for
and,
Richard
then,
not
and
being
the
in it.
son brings
You're not doing it, Richard?
like the
He
one
won't be in it.
remaining membered greaser, and the and mom and the nurse and the priest back to his place, puts him in the basement, and starts. What he puts him in the basement first, starts tranquilizing him. Then he starts cooking him dinner, and like they're at the dinner
The
table.
eggs
He's
with
pouring the
trank-
tranquilizer in the
in the
pottage.
food, and he's trying to like keep
Porridge.
things civilized
Yeah.
with them. And the priest and the nurse decide to get busy.
I like the part when he no, use the spoon, and he shoves a spoon to the back of his head.
And then he
back of his
starts
head.
crying, and then the mom reaches over and like eats the
And
tranquilized
he's
glazed
even
egg.
more upset. He's like, that was
pouting.
my eggs.
And then the nurse, because her head slopped off, all of hers pouring out of her neck, and
so
so
he
he
comes
grabs
over to
her
feed
hair
her,
and
right,
feeds her
straight
down
into
her
her
little
throat.
throat hole.
Oh my gosh, it's so rough. And then the priest
And
starts
she's-
grabbing
and
the,
she's like,
Absolutely. Fun movie.
yeah.
and then the priest reaches
Like-
over.
Oh
like
yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
she has that face of like.
Yeah, she's enjoying it.
Oof. Weird.
And then the uncle shows up.
No, yeah, the uncle shows up.
Oh,
Guy
the
goes in the
creepy
other room to
skeezy guy
deal
that
with
wants-
this creepy skeezy uncle. Meanwhile, the priest like looks over at the nurse, puts his hand on the nurse's leg, and he's like, "Hey, hey," and she's like, and then
while
they
he's
start
in-
having zombie
yeah.
sex.
While he's dealing with
I
the
come to the
uncle,
Lord.
when he's dealing with the uncle, you could hear them in the background having sex, and that's the
Right.
best part. He's like, "Ooh, you found your old your dad's old stag films.
So you found your dad's old stag movies, eh?
Is that the one with the donkey and the chambermaid?" Because he,
His dad was a porn star?
well, no, he just had a collection.
Back,
dirty
Back
movies.
then, you had
back before you were born,
No, you
porn
said-
was not well liked by many people, and they were called stag films. Not
and they were on 8mm
and white.
film rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
When you said you found your dad's old stag collection, I thought that he was in them.
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
it was
no.
because he found those pictures later with the girl with the hot dog.
Maybe.
So maybe. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Oh. Keep on going. We're rolling through
So
this.
yeah, his uncle basically just convinces him, "I'm only gonna leave when you I deserve to be on that will."
Yeah.
And he kicks him out.
Right. The money, the house.
Right. He kicks him out. Well, we're gonna skip a few things because the movie does drag a bit. It's fun, but there's nothing like plot wise in it.
The only plot point that's important before the party really is that Paquita comes back and she's like, "Why are you ignoring me?"
Oh, we forgot the best line. Oh, but before when he's still trying to figure out his mom, Paquita comes over before the nurse, and with her dog.
Before the nurse is dead.
Mom ate my dog!
Yeah, your mom ate my dog. And his response,
Your mother ate my dog!
Not all of it.
Not all
Not
of it.
all of it. Sorry, I had to go back. That's one of my favorite lines.
The dog is all over the
He
room.
pulled the whole tail out of her throat, and it was
mother ate my
gross.
Her dog was a German Shepherd, by the way.
Yeah.
Big old
Yeah.
boy.
Oh, ate the dog and pulled the tail out. That was awesome.
It was awesome.
So yeah, the only thing we really need to know about before the party is that
Well, he
he's
finds
trying
the
to.
bodies.
Well, he's trying to
And he
keep Paquita
blackmail
away.
him.
He's trying, but Paquita knows that this is my guy. I gotta be with him.
And her grandmother or aunt does another tarot card reading for her and tells her that there's like terrible tragedy,
Death. He's surrounded by death.
corruption, all sorts of things around him, and like he needs help to be saved.
There will be torment and suffering. You are marked.
Right, but he's trying to force her away. He's hiding from her. The best one is he does the disappear when the train car or when the streetcar comes by, and she disappears. She's like,
And
what?
he's gonna-
and then the car drives away, and he's
like,
he's hiding.
hiding behind
so
the
that's a great one. But he's trying to keep her away, trying to keep her safe because he knows it's too dangerous for her. But then the uncle finds the bodies that he's got hidden of the mom
And the zombie baby.
Oh shit, we've got the zombie baby.
And he takes him to the park.
So here's the one thing I wanted to point out. This is true, yeah. So the zombie baby part. So the nurse has the baby because she got pregnant from having sex with the
zombie priest.
And it's a zombie baby, and
It grew real fast.
It grew real fast. He takes the baby to the park, trying to be normal, and the best part
in a carriage,
covered in barbed wire, and the funny part is. Yeah, when the baby gets out, he's flinging he's punching it, flinging it into a swing, and he's beating the shit out of the baby in front of everyone. And they're all. The funny part was that was the last scene filmed in the movie. Basically, what happened was they finished the movie. They were under budget, so they took the extra money, him and the actor, and they went out to the park and filmed that whole scene because they just had extra money.
So they just beat the shit out of a zombie baby
Correct.
because they had the funds to do it.
Correct. That whole scene was shot on.
I did not know that.
Hyperactive.
Oh, it's like a corporate party at the end of the
exactly.
And I like that he had the carrier for the baby as well. So
Yeah.
he
And
stuffed
he's walking
the baby
away,
in the
punching
carriers.
it, punching it in the back.
Slam it on the ground.
Oh boy, oh boy.
But yes, so then his uncle finds the bodies. He blackmails him and said,
Calls the police.
Yeah, so I'm calling police there, and he's like, okay, you can have all the money and the house. And he hangs up, and instantly a party shows up. Like
instantly.
Yeah, everyone. He basically throws a party because it's his new house, and just tells him you got to get rid of those dead bodies down in the basement before people find it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, fucking pervert.
Yeah, and.
I mean, long story short, the zombies get out. Everybody at the party gets infected, and he and Paquita and a couple of other individuals are trying so hard to stay alive as
Including
the
the
zombies
uncle.
fight, including the sleazy uncle.
Who gets
as
hit
the
in the nuts
zombies
like 7
are trying to
times.
fight him in every room. Yeah, he gets kicked in the nuts by Paquita for being a sleazeball before everybody gets infected.
By the zombie
then he gets
baby
kicked
with
in
a
the
foot.
then he gets kicked in the nuts first by the zombie baby, period. Then by the zombie baby with somebody else's leg. Like. He gets hit in the nuts a lot of times.
And then
but he ends up being great in a fight.
Yeah, he just starts with that scene of him just going, ah!
With a meat cleaver and a giant carving knife.
And he saves them. So basically it's a free-for-all in this house. Zombies killing everybody.
So once the party starts, this is when the movie gets like
spicy,
super spicy,
but
super fun. This is great. This
creative.
is
And you just see so
creative
many
as hell.
cool zombie effects and crazy zombie deaths.
Well, the great thing is
the girl
of
screaming.
tomato soup.
My favorite, the girl screaming, and then the fist coming through, like the one zombie punches through her head and comes out her mouth.
No, the lamp zombie.
The lamp zombie.
The lamp when she gets,
She gets her head like yoinked onto a wall light sconce.
And the whole scene, she's back there just flickering.
Like,
for a while, for like 10 minutes. And just in the background, that like such a great effect.
This is when the movie gets like super interesting, super
They're like,
fun.
what can we get away with?
And all you can do is just laugh at the ridiculousness that they come up with in the ways to kill zombies.
There's so many great points that I'm not even going to try and get into them.
Right, because I can't show any of them anyway.
It's almost zombie slapstick.
Right.
It is Benny Hill with zombies.
Him running in place on the blood.
There's just so many funny things. Yeah.
Being attacked by the guy's intestines.
Friends.
Oh, the intestines.
The intestines
and
that
then
are
he
chasing
actually
him.
has sympathy for the intestines.
Yeah.
Like he actually looks at the intestines
Well,
like.
it looks pathetic when you have to hobble along on your own little lungs.
Yeah.
Your little lung hands.
The long hands.
Oh, I loved it when one of the zombies ripped the rib cage out of the body.
Yeah.
Remember they ripped
Oh,
the
at the very
still
start. That was the very start because
screaming?
the door of the basement falls on
Right.
him, and they climb out and pull him out.
And they ripped the
remember,
rib cage
I'm
completely
like, they're
out
just
of the
ripping them
human.
up for fun. They're not even eating them.
Right.
remember the whole reason
So
this
wasteful.
happened is because he thought he was putting poison in the bodies to kill his mom and the other ones.
Yeah, but it was poison for peoples, but it was an... Animal stimulant.
Yes, on the other side of the bottle. So they all came back
As
super
super zombies.
Yeah.
So the rest of the zombies in the party, they got infected. They're just like normal, slow zombies. But those 4 main zombies were like ninja
Decked
zombies.
Kick your ass, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We don't have to go through every creative kill. It's movies worth watching just for the effects they do of like
We're
the
not even
head
at
cut
that
in
part
half,
yet.
like with the head just kind of floating around. They
Jumping
put,
ahead.
No, it's all
Jumping ahead.
This is all in the party. Like when they put the head in the blender.
Yeah.
That was a really good effect, though.
Yeah, there's so many creative effects, and then of course the climax of the fight scene is
When he just comes into the house with the lawnmower strapped to his chest and starts running through the group of zombies.
Party's over.
And then while he's out there with the lawnmower, she's in there with the blender, stuffing things in the blender. He's hitting lawnmower, she's stuffing blender.
Oh, yeah. And that's like right around the time when we discover, because he goes, I haven't seen Mom yet.
Right.
And
Right.
then that's when we see the huge,
Super.
enormous skeleton hands like ripping up through the floor. And then that one uncle who comes downstairs and he's like, because he had chased the
Yep.
baby down the stairs because he hit him in the nuts too many times.
Oh,
and
but
he's
you
like,
don't
you're
see
done,
mom,
baby.
You don't see mom and the uncle. You see the uncle.
You see it in a shadow that she grabs his head and grabs his shoulders and literally just like splits him like a watermelon.
Pulls
And
his
then he's
spine
this
out of his body.
weird
Attached to his
bend
head.
over. I wanted them to do more with that effect. They built that whole thing and then he was on scene for like 12 seconds. I'm
Yeah,
like,
the
what?
Paquita just like grabs his spine and splatters his head on the counter.
Like, I'm sorry.
Let's not
it
forget the
took-
one part where
Forget the one part.
he
The
falls
400
through
parts.
from the attic, and the glow one, the cable's attached to her. She flies to the back,
It's a zick.
and but when he comes down and lands on the one guy's head, and his head explodes, he's like, "Oh!" But I just want to point out that because what happened there is, remember, Paquita gets bit.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, she gets bit. He's like, oh no! He runs up or swings up and grabs and pulls him off. And it turns out it was just dentures. Because the guy fell off his
she
chest.
didn't get a real bite.
Okay.
When Mom comes up from the basement, though, she is a horror movie monster. She's not even a humanoid zombie anymore. She's this giant thing with weird reverse knees. She's super naked. She reminds me of a giant, terrifying naked puppet from the very nearly porn Meet the Feebles.
Yep.
That should
she
look
just
like
with
a hairless
long
orangutan.
fingernails.
huge, with crazy mom boobs, crazy huge mom ass, which was surprisingly firm.
Surprisingly. Yeah.
I just thought she'd look like a naked orangutan.
She looked like a rat monkey. She was a giant rat
She
monkey.
was a giant.
Oh yeah, 'cause she had that
she
rat
had the
face, and her
rat-
her
Oh,
normal
that's right.
face like fell off throughout the scene, and then she just had that cool like
That
rat
makes good
skull.
sense.
Yeah.
That,
And then
I
the-
didn't even put that together.
She was the only one who was bit by the rat monkey.
Oh.
And she
Then she
follows him up
attacked
to the
everybody
roof, Godzilla style. They have their little
Right.
Godzilla encounter on the roof.
She
Fire, the whole
splits her
house is on
belly
fire.
open and says, "I'm the only woman that will ever love you," and then he gets
sucks him
pulled
back
back
in.
into the womb.
Into the womb.
Yeah. Then he cuts his way out with the
Paquita's
medallion.
like, no!
I'll give.
And then she's like trying to kick off Paquita with her little fingers. She's like, "Get off the roof."
Get up the roof.
I gotta give Paquita has a great
You're gonna
horror
knock
movie.
over the movie.
Shit, sorry.
Paquita has a great horror movie scream. Her scream is so good.
really
I
good.
love her scream. At the end of the movie, the fire brigade shows up.
Yeah.
Baby's not dead.
Oh yeah, because
And
he's just crying in the house.
Yep.
But then he like climbed out of Mom with didn't he like dig his way out with the protective medallion, which
yes.
we have failed to talk about until this very moment.
Right.
yeah, we have.
How did we do that?
It's okay.
Because
because you have to watch the
He
movie.
had a protective medallion
Because
the entire
we're
time.
so into the creative. This of all
Blood,
zombie movies, this just had the most
blood.
creativity of all. Like this. Okay, so when we
You know,
started this out,
I will say this. I don't know if it had the most creativity, but of all the zombie movies I've ever seen, this one for sure had the most individual practical effect props. like so many specific, unique zombies.
Yeah. How'd they
zombie
come in under
deaths,
budget?
break it like dismemberments,
how many ways
breaking
you can kill a
apart.
zombie or human?
And how many different ways you can just pull them into pieces and configure them and whatever. Like this is a lot.
I call this a pass movie, a movie that pushes so many boundaries that it just gives every other movie that follows it a pass to do something similar or something worse.
I think they sat around a table and they figured out ridiculous ways for people to die, and they just said, "Let's do it." Let's
They
make it happen.
didn't settle on one unless they were jumping like this. If they jumped like this, then it was definitely an idea that was going in the movie.
And this is why I said at the very start, if you haven't seen this movie, this is going to be your new favorite Halloween movie. Because this movie is just fun. It's not a horror movie. It's not a scary movie. It's just a fun
It's
movie.
horrific, I would say. Very gory.
It's gorific.
But
it's gorific.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's gorific.
The only thing I have to say is if you do watch this, make sure you get the unrated version. There are two. So when I first saw this movie, this is my friend Ross. He's like I've known him since I was like 6 years old. This is our favorite movie. We used to watch this movie all the time when we were kids. We'd go to the rental store and rent this movie because it was before we bought stuff. We would rent this movie all the time because it was a 99-cent rental. And then one time we went to rent it and it wasn't there. We went to another rental store and rented it. It was just all on VHS. This is pre-DVD. And we watched this movie and I remember watching it and it just was all edited out. And we found out there is a rated R version for America and a not rated version for the rest of the world. You have to get the NR, the not rated movie. If you get the R rated, they cut all of it out and it is a bore fest.
Ugh.
But get the
Instead
unrated
of a bore
version.
fest?
Yeah.
Unrated version, guys.
Yeah, not rated.
And you can look at the cover and know the cover of the not rated film is right there.
Yeah. We'll wrap up. So, of course, I said at the start, this is going to be your new favorite Halloween movie if you haven't seen it before because it's just fun. I recommend this movie all day long. Peter Jackson is one of the most now award-winning directors out there. It's watch this movie. It's worth watching.
So mysterious.
We'll go the other way. Yeah, we'll start with you.
Well, I would
Fucking
recommend this
farted.
to people that like Halloween and like zombie and gory movies. I would not recommend this to my grandparents.
I don't think any movie on this show you would recommend to your grandparents.
Police Academy.
I would recommend Police Academy for my grandparents.
Go ahead.
You would?
Megan, what do you think?
I think that this could be either a very fun or a very dangerous drinking game.
Oh, yeah. Usually that's my line.
Depending on what the criteria you pick, you put it on, everybody's got their own cup of jungle juice, and you just hope for the best. It could be the mustache game, it could be the every time they curse game, it could be every time you see tomato juice being thrown on the actor. You'd get fucked up. You'd die.
You'd die in the last scene.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why you gotta kind of pick. You gotta pick your evening.
Your juice.
Okay, so is that a yes or no?
That's it.
Satirically, yes.
Satirically, yes.
All right, how about this? Will you watch this movie again?
Probably.
Okay.
It's funny.
We already know what I think I would have gone through. You.
Okay, so the one thing that I have said, and I will say again, is yes, I would watch the movie again, but seeing Peter Jackson, because when you said Peter Jackson directed this movie, I was like, no. And then you see his name all over it. And I would say follow your craft, follow your love, follow your art, because if Peter Jackson can do this and end up with Lord of the Rings, you can do anything.
Your mother ate my dog!
Camp on Oana, we hold you in our hearts.
You know that-
and when I think about you,
It makes me want to fart. It's I hope we never part. Get it right or pay the price.